Alright, what's up guys? Damien here. Today is February 11th, 2022, and I'm finally able to build my e-bike. So if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I had my other e-bike stolen in October. And since then, I've been slowly piecing this bike together, choosing components, and I'm going to walk through the entire build process as I do this. I finally have it ready, except for tomorrow my motor is going to be laced into a new wheel. So, but I have already kind of like put it on the bike, just kind of mocked it up, make sure everything works, and totally going to work. So here are all the parts that you're going to need for a hub motor build. We have battery. This is the Phase Runner motor controller, Cycle Analyst CA3 computer, e-brake levers, throttle. This is the on button slash Cycle Analyst, what they call digital aux button. And this is the GMAC 8-turn hub motor. It's a geared motor. I've already put the disc brake rotor on there. So just FYI, if you are using this motor, you take off this little spacer right here, and that just makes it so if you don't have disc brakes, then all of the things fit properly. So if you're using a disc rotor, you would take that off. Once I get the motor back, I'm not going to do it today, but I'm gonna back these, since this is the torque arm that comes off the motor, because these are round 10mm axles, whereas for example, on this other motor, this is a 14mm axle, and then it's kind of shaved down on the sides to make it 10mm. And I was going to use this motor, which is a this is a 9-continent RH212, but the way they have the cable coming out of the axle right here, this is actually where it meets up with my dropout. And it's hard to tell on camera, but there is like a little divot here because you can push the cable all the way up to the mount. So I consider this to be a design flaw, because that makes this inner, like where the actual axle goes into the dropout, this isn't a true 10mm because there's a divot right there. So it was actually rocking in my dropout, because I actually already had this whole bike built already up, and when I went on my first test ride with that wheel, I found that it wasn't going to work with the dropout I had. And you can even see I kind of scored it a tiny bit because it did rock inside the dropout. But with the new GMAC motor with a true 10mm spline, it fits properly in the dropout, and then the torque arm is what's actually handling all the torque, and that's going to be mounted right here. So all the torque arm comes down here, connects up to this piece, and so all of the torque gets applied to the frame. One thing I already installed, or I installed a couple things, but one thing is this kickstand. So it's really hard to fit a kickstand on a surly Ogre, which is what this bike is, because normally you would put it down here, but there isn't really a place to mount it. I suppose you could probably drill a hole through here, and then maybe that would be easier. But there was a guy I found online that you can order these two little metal pieces that go inside this slot right here. This slot's designed for a roll-off hub, but since I'm not using one, this is a perfect spot to put this kickstand. This is 18mm between the two bolts, and I'll put a link in the description of the video where you can go and you can actually order both of those parts, and they're very cheap. So this kickstand works great, and it's not the dual kickstand that I'm used to, but it seems like it's going to do the job, so we'll see how that goes. The other things I did, I added, I already have the e-brake levers on. I just kind of use these as mock-ups. These are extras that I have. But I already, like I said, I already put this bike together once, and then with that motor over there, and then found that that wasn't going to work, so I ordered this GMAC motor. So the e-brake levers are on, and this is the light controller button. But other than that, I haven't done anything e-bike related to this bike. So technically the only e-bike related thing is that the brake levers are already installed. A cool thing about this bike, this has already been an e-bike in its previous life. So it was bought new as a Surly Ogre, and I'm assuming it was a mid-drive. It doesn't really show any signs of being a hub-motored bike, so I think it was a mid-drive before. And then they put it back to a regular bike. That's how I bought it from what is it, Splendid Cycles in Portland, Oregon. And then I built it into another e-bike with that motor over there, and that didn't work. So then I disassembled it back into a regular bike, and I've been using that for a while. And then now it's going to be an e-bike again. So it's actually been identity conflicted for a while now. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. Like I said, there's a few steps. I'm going to mount everything up. One thing to note is I accidentally ordered the one that had the really long throttle cable. In the future, I'm going to chop this off and make it 50 centimeters and then just re-terminate it. But for now, I'm going to leave it. For today, I'm going to mount up the motor again, just get that kind of situated, and then I'll take it off again when I go have the motor laced tomorrow. I'll get the computer installed and all of this besides the torque arm, get the battery mounted, and we'll go from there. Got the torque arm mounted to my frame, fits perfectly. I was gonna record that, but honestly that's a little bit of trial and error, just figuring out where like the position needs to be so that the cable exits the dropout right there like it's supposed to. Yeah, so there's better videos on that. Grin Technologies YouTube page, Justin goes through mounting up all of that hardware. It was a little bit of trial and error. I had to just kind of play around with that for a minute, but it's all installed. And then I kind of did a rough mock-up. This is my controller, Phase Runner. My computer's right here, just kind of chilling. Got the power button / accessory digital aux cable connected, and my throttle's down here. Even though this motor is very, very tiny because it's a geared motor, it's still rated up to the same as my older motors. But it is a geared motor, so it's not as silent, unfortunately, but I think it's going to get quieter as it goes. I know like it has to like work through some things, you know, getting things all loosened up in JS, greased up. I'm getting my motor laced into this rim on Saturday, so I've got a couple days to work with, so I'm not in a hurry. I'm just kind of playing around. I had my laptop set up. I reprogrammed the controller, the Phase Runner, for my specific motor now. So I had an aux cable that connects up into here and then ran to my computer. But I've already done that. Like I said, there's better videos to show those processes. So I'm going to skip that for now because that was just kind of me playing around. Once I get the motor laced and I have everything on my bike, I'll do some testing as I ride, so it's going to take a little bit of time to play around with things. But I'm going to be putting in my torque sensing bottom bracket, so that's going to be my kind of main goal for tomorrow, kind of get the drivetrain set up. So as you can see on this motor, I haven't put the freewheel on here yet, or the cassette. I'm going to go with a 7-speed This bike came with a 9-speed. This derailleur, which is an Shimano Olivio, that'll work totally fine still. But I'm going to install the same friction shifter, 7-speed. Well, it works with lots of speeds, but I'm gonna put that on. The main reason being is because you can see that the trigger shifters kind of block the area where the throttle would be. So I'm gonna switch to a friction shifter, but I'm gonna leave the triggers for the top gears here. The reason why I'm doing the bottom bracket tomorrow is because that's kind of like a big project in itself. I've got to put the torque sensing bottom bracket in, put the new pedals on, or the new crank arms on, and then also this is a 42 tooth top gear setup. So I'm going to go to a 48 to get so that I can pedal at the top speed. So 48, 11. I can pedal up to like 31 miles an hour at 90 cadence. So gotta take this off. I gotta bring the derailleur up a little bit to compensate for the 48 tooth gearing. So yeah, that's gonna take me a little bit of time. And then I'll also install the cassette and get the drivetrain kind of set up so that Saturday when I get the motor laced, hopefully I can just start doing my test runs over the weekend. So yeah, so that's gonna be what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna get this all mounted up kind of where I want it. Controller is gonna go here. Battery cage will mount here, but it's gonna be pretty low. And yeah, I guess before I start, I should probably show that it's all working. So turn the battery on. Find my on switch. So turn that on. Computer comes on. You can see let's see the red light on the controller there. And everything spins good. So yeah, I'm gonna disconnect everything now and just kind of run all the cables. I've got a tail light to put on, which I already have. The front light I left on just because I could. So those both are going to be powered by the e-bike battery, so I don't have to worry about charging those anymore. So yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of get all this installed and show that process. But yeah, realistically, it's a pretty simple process to turn a bike into an e-bike. You just have to just have things that work together, or else have the soldering re-termination knowledge to be able to make it work. But it's a pretty simple setup, so let's get started. Alright folks, it's about that time. Got all my my zip ties and everything tidied up. All the wiring's there. Backlight's on. Motor's working. Tightened up the axles. Make sure those are tight. Alright, so yeah, I'm ready to go on my maiden voyage. I haven't installed the bottom bracket yet because I have to put on, I'm going to take this apart and then put this crank arm and assembly and stuff on there. This is a different bottom bracket, but same diff. But I want to go on a bike ride for a minute and test this out. So this is going to be my maiden voyage. If you can see in the camera or see in the mirror, I'm wearing my helmet. Always wear a helmet when you go on a maiden voyage with an e-bike. Brand new e-bike. At least self-built. Because you never know. But yeah, it's maiden voyage time, folks.